अस्सलाम वालेकुम, वेलकम टू बिजनेस मैटर्स और मैं हूं आपकी होस्ट मरियम अली। आज के एपिसोड में हम बात करने जा रहे हैं टोबैको इंडस्ट्री के बारे में, स्पेसिफिकली फिलिप मॉरिस पाकिस्तान के बारे में। Joining us today in the studio is Mr. Ali Takesh. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir.
Thank you, Miriam. Appreciate it.
Let's start with a historical overview of this company. So obviously, Philip Morris Pakistan didn't begin as Philip Morris. It was acquired. So could you tell us a little bit about the company as it began as Laxon Tobacco in around 1969?
Yes, Laxon Tobacco it was a big company here, had very important brands and a high market share. And that's why in 2008, Philip Morris decided to actually make an investment and acquire that company, including all the brands and all the operations. And that's what we did. In 2008, we entered as Philip Morris. We have since invested around $800 million in the acquisition and subsequent investments. And now we're looking forward to continuing our business in Pakistan.
So what changes have you seen since 2008 till 2025? In terms of, I know you haven't been around for the entire period, but in terms of the company's history, in terms of its outreach, its sales, sort of even consumer preferences in those 2 decades?
Yes. It's, as you said, I haven't been here since then. I know that the outlook for the tobacco industry has changed significantly. There's been big tax increases since 2008, which has created issues in the industry. The total consumption of tobacco is around 80 billion cigarettes equivalents in Pakistan, which is quite high.
Very significant.
And it's significant in worldwide. However, with the big tax increases that have come most recently in 2023, the big problem is that about 57% of the industry is now illicit or non-tax paying.
Okay.
And that's a big defining issue and characteristic of the market here in Pakistan.
And that wasn't the case?
That was not the case back then. The taxes were lower. And I can't give you figures of what it was back then exactly. But obviously, the legitimate industry was a lot bigger. And Laxon's share was bigger. And what we bought back then was a bigger company in terms of sales. Those sales have gone down. However, we're working very hard together with the government to come with solutions and to try to improve the outlook.
So we'll revisit the issue of illicit trade again, but I just want to actually ask if you could give the audience, like a layperson, a lay of the land of the tobacco market. Sort of who are the key players? What are the key offerings of those key players?
Essentially, there's, as I said, the tobacco industry is comprised in Pakistan of about 80 billion cigarettes consumption. We estimate that there are around 15 to 16 million smokers in Pakistan. The landscape is actually quite fragmented. There's about 52 different companies that are selling tobacco products. However, out of those 52 companies, there's only 2 legitimate players in Pakistan, 2 multinationals.
And by legitimate, you mean?
Full tax-paying, fully tax-paying industry members, right? So I think we have 2 multinationals, and there's BAT and Philip Morris, and those are the 2 big multinationals in Pakistan.
And so the remaining 50 companies are not tax-paying?
The remaining 50 companies are producing products, and that not all of it is tax-paid. Out of the fully tax-paid volumes, 98% is basically the 2 multinational companies.
So how did we end up in this position? How did this happen, and how is this accepted by your company or by regulators?
I think the situation starts with high taxation, right? When the tax is too high, when you tax products too high, you take it above what the consumers can actually pay. And then there is opportunities that is created for other market players that come in and undersell their products below the minimum prices and without paying the full taxes to the government. Now, the government is aware of this problem. We highlight it, and we're working together with the government in order to beef up the programs for enforcement. And that's where it comes down to. The taxes are high, but the enforcement has not followed to that same level. And that's where we need to work closely with the government to make sure that those programs come into effect. Today, there is retail enforcement that is still weak, and it's necessary to be increased. There are track and trace mechanisms that the multinational companies abide by, but not the other players don't abide by those. So really enforcement is the key here.
Okay. And are you working with provincial governments or federal government or just?
Both. I mean, first of all, it's mainly the federal government, but recently with the latest amendments to the taxation and the budgets, the regional governments, the provincial governments have been giving powers to enforce those laws. So I think we're going to be very much working with the provincial governments as well to get the level of enforcement high.
So how does this landscape affect your profitability? Because obviously if you're paying taxes, it's going to be affecting your bottom line. And it's not affecting those other companies' bottom lines.
Well, it's affected our profitability significantly. Over time, our profitability has eroded. And that's exactly why we need to address it. We estimate that there is about 310 billion rupees that are being evaded, right? And if that money comes back in, first of all, the government can do a lot more with that money than today, and at the same time, it will level the playing field. And I think the cigarette brands that are not paying taxes today, their prices would have to come up closer to the brands that we are selling, and that will level the playing field, right, at the end of the day.
Is this fragmented landscape unique to Pakistan, or is it unique to developing countries as a whole?
Illicit trade is not unique to Pakistan, but these levels of illicit trade I haven't seen in many other markets.
Could you give me some example of other markets and sort of percentages of illicit trade versus in Pakistan?
There are illicit trade in other markets. I mean, there's illicit trade, different varying levels in many markets. I can't give you, examples off the top of my head, but certainly 57%, which is some external research companies are estimating in Pakistan. That's the highest that I've experienced in my career with Philip Morris.
And so do you think that there's enough room for that number to come down? Are you optimistic about that number coming down?
We are optimistic of that number coming down. That's for sure. We are optimistic. We believe that through enforcement measures that those levels can come down significantly. Yes, absolutely.
Let's shift gears a little bit. PMI's global strategy is to be completely smoke-free by 2030. How does Pakistan fit into this?
Yes. Look, our smoke-free vision is very important for us globally in PMI. So, today, about 41% of PMI's net revenues are actually from non-combustible products, which is huge. Now, we aim to be 70% of our net revenues coming from smoke-free products by 2030, and we're on our way with that. In Pakistan, our journey is beginning. Okay, and then I think that's where we are.
So if you could share sort of what's the percentage of non-combustible products versus combustible products, or is it just a sliver?
Today is just a sliver, although it's not insignificant. So today we have two smoke-free products that we have in Pakistan. We have Zin, obviously, and we have our heated tobacco product. That's a very small sliver. We are concentrating on the commercialization of Zin, which are the nicotine pouches. They contain no tobacco. They contain nicotine, and for adult smokers, it's a much better alternative versus continued smoking. I think that's how it is.
So what is the preference for a product like Zin, let's say, in other markets versus in Pakistan?
Look, Zin is the #1 nicotine pouch in the world, and it's mainly due to its tremendous success in the U.S. So the U.S. is by far the biggest market for PMI Zin in the world. Now, Pakistan is actually, I believe, the third largest market for PMI for ZYN.
Okay.
But yet, I mean, I think we estimate the total nicotine pouch consumption in Pakistan to be about maybe 2% of what the overall tobacco consumption is.
And is that because of consumer preference or consumer understanding of nicotine? Like, where do you think Pakistan's consumer market's conversation is about nicotine, about the harmful effects of tobacco smoking?
Okay. So I think one thing that's very important to understand is that the main harm is from the burning tobacco and inhaling the smoke. That's where the harmful constituents are. Nicotine in itself does not cause any of the smoking-related disease, right? So for smokers who do not want to quit, there are better alternatives. And I think in Pakistan, one of our key priorities are to create that awareness that for smokers, there are better alternatives. You can enjoy nicotine through nicotine pouches, for example, where you're not getting the harmful constituents that are in the smoke, and you can still enjoy the nicotine satisfaction. So that's where I think we have to build that awareness.
And that awareness currently doesn't exist, right?
That awareness is low. It's not that it doesn't exist.
Or it's nascent.
It's low. It's nascent, as you say. It's low, and that's what we need to build. We need to work with the government, I think, in order to make sure that we have a framework to communicate and responsibly communicate that smokers have better alternatives, right? And I think that's where the dialogue really needs to go.
So in Pakistan, there's an issue of affordability, right? You can go to a corner store and not just buy a packet, you can actually buy a single cigarette. How do you compare that to, like, let's say, the cost of a ZYN packet? Like, how do you even market them or compare them when people can barely afford that one cigarette?
Right.
And are, as you said, addicted to a cigarette?
Right. I think affordability is always going to be there, okay? And I think ZYN and nicotine pouches need to be around the prices that are competitive with the most popular cigarette categories. They can't be way above that, because otherwise that takes them out. So today, I think there are options. There are nicotine pouches that are close to the popular cigarette prices.
But affordability has been a huge issue for not just your company, but other major companies as well, correct?
Correct.
And how does one counter that?
So you counter affordability by trying to market the best possible product at the best price. Right. However, there are limitations. I mean, there are product costs that come in. So the affordability needs to be addressed over time as well, with judicious pricing. However, today it's clear that we're not going to be able to reach the full gamut of smokers in Pakistan, because some of them will simply not be able to afford nicotine pouches.
So staying in the realm of sort of health and health regulations, what are Pakistan's specific health regulations or marketing regulations that are, let's say, unique for this market? Okay.
So today, Pakistan has a very solid and strict framework for tobacco products, which we welcome, right? So cigarettes are very regulated, okay? The enforcement of those regulations, I think we've talked about before, still need to be worked on. However, the regulations are there and they're robust. For nicotine pouches, currently there are no regulations.
Got it.
And I think that's where we need to, again, work with the government and the stakeholders in the government to come up with a framework regulation that, one, allows the building of the awareness that we talked about, so that adult smokers know that there are better products out there, including nicotine pouches, and that they can understand, why they should, if they want to continue to enjoy nicotine, why they should switch. At the same time, those regulations should address youth access and youth smoking and youth use of nicotine products, because that's a red line. We need regulation to make sure that everybody is clear that you cannot have communications or sales to youth. That's critical.
But this continues to happen in Pakistan.
It continues to happen, and not just in Pakistan. It's an issue everywhere, and in varying degrees. However, this issue needs to be tackled through regulation and obviously responsible marketing practices by the industry players. Today, Philip Morris internally, we have very, very strict marketing code, actually stricter than most laws in a lot of countries. And in Pakistan, our marketing code is also applied, and we're very, very strict. We pride ourselves that we do not target, we only target existing adult nicotine users for our products. And I think going forward, it is critical that the regulation addresses the youth access to nicotine products and the regulations surrounding that.
And does the regulation not exist because it's such a new product? Is it taking time for Pakistan to sort of wake up to it? Is that what it is?
I think.
Or is that a normal evolution for many
markets?
Markets?
Are relatively new as a product, right? However, in Pakistan there is no regulation. In some countries there are regulations, and in some countries it's actually banned, right? But
really,
yes, indeed. Now, the countries that have banned these products are not addressing the smoking rates. In countries where there are regulation and access to these products, to these smoke-free products, we see smoking rates declining a lot faster than in other countries that is not the case. If you take, for example, Sweden, New Zealand, those countries have made a huge amount of progress in declining smoking rates by making sure that these better alternatives, including nicotine pouches, are available, and the benefits of switching to them are clear to consumers, right? And then on the flip side, if you take other markets that have taken a different stand, like Turkey, where they don't allow these products and there's a lot of bans, you do not see the same level of smoking incidents declining.
And that market has a particularly heavy smoking culture as well.
Which one?
Turkey.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So I think banning products is not the way to go, especially banning novel products that can actually help smokers stop smoking and go and enjoy nicotine in a much in a less harmful manner.
Let's shift gears a little bit towards global ESG scrutiny. Tobacco companies are generally now moving towards this realm. So can you tell us a little bit more about what sustainability looks like for the Pakistani market?
Okay. I think one thing to understand from our perspective is, I think one of the most biggest things that we can do as a tobacco industry for sustainability is bringing in the less harmful products and alternatives to the market and building those awareness. And I think that is huge, right? So I think that is clear for us as a priority. And at the same time, in Pakistan, for example, we have a fully integrated business. We grow tobacco, we manufacture, we process that tobacco, we turn it into cigarettes, and obviously we commercialize it, right? And all along those chains, we take sustainability very seriously. So from our manufacturing processes, from our leaf growing processes, I'll give you an example. All the wood that our farmers use in curing tobacco is sustainable and from sustainable sources, and we're certified on that. So our supply chain globally is also very well controlled in terms of making sure that we hit the sustainability norms. We have targets on emissions, on CO2 emissions, and then we really follow
I think
those.
reducing it by 17%, that's a particular standard.
Yes, I think that those are there. So I think when we have very strict controls from globally on all our operations, in Pakistan actually falls very much within those controls. So we take it very seriously, and then, as I said, I think the products sustainability is also very big for us.
So when we look at the company and the company's history, this was acquired in 2008, and then just a few years earlier, I believe, it was delisted from the PSX. And what has happened in the company since this sort of voluntary delisting? Because, I mean, any changes, anything interesting that happened since then?
Well, the delisting is in the process of happening, right? Yeah. So the company has been listed up until, it's still listed today. However, we have applied to delist the company, yes. I think the delisting is about Philip Morris International, our parent company, wanting to have a bigger share. There's only about a very small amount of shares outstanding, and we want to be the full owners of the business.
And what would that lead to? Just what is the particular reasoning for this?
We think it's a good investment going forward as a company. We believe in our growth. We believe in our business in Pakistan.
Okay.
And we want to take back as many of the shares as we possibly can.
It's interesting because most people are trying to get listed on the PSX, so there's a
right. I mean, well, Philip Morris International is obviously the parent company that's listed. Okay. So if you and that stock price has done remarkably well over the past year. Okay. So I think that option for investors is always there. But in Pakistan, I think we are comfortable that buying back the remaining small amount of shares is the right way to go.
So tell us a little bit about your imports and exports for Philip Morris Pakistan. So what are your sort of major raw material costs, and what are some major exports that are happening in this space?
Okay. So our exports, which I think is very important, because that brings foreign currency into the country and so on, is tobacco. We export a lot of tobacco, a lot of raw tobacco. So this we work with about 5,000 farmers, which we support through agronomy programs and sustainability programs, and then we buy that tobacco from them, where we ensure its quality, and we sell that tobacco mainly to Philip Morris International, that then uses that tobacco. So we're the largest tobacco exporter. I think last year we exported around $30 million, and that figure is going to be quite a lot more this year. The tobacco season is not finished yet. The buying season is not finished yet, but it's been a good crop, so it looks like. Okay. And we expect that number to grow. So
how does that sort of fit into the narrative of moving away from tobacco products to begin with?
Moving away, okay. It's a journey, right? I mean, in some markets, that journey is much more advanced, right? Overall, what we see globally is that, as I said before, today 40% of our revenues are coming from non-tobacco, and we want to go to 70%. As that journey happens, our purchasing of tobacco will go down. However, where we do everything we possibly can to accelerate that, we still have to fulfill today the needs of the current smokers, right? So, and overall, while overall tobacco consumption is still around, there's about 1 billion smokers. The tobacco use incidence has gone down globally, but with population growth, the actual number of cigarettes that are being sold hasn't really gone down. So there's still 1 billion smokers in the world.
And so what are the major sort of export markets that tobacco is being sold to?
That tobacco is sold to PMI, and then it's used in various different products for in different. I couldn't name the exact markets because it's used in small quantities and different products all over the world.
And what are your import costs working in Pakistan? What are some of the raw material issues that you're facing, if at all? That's a big challenge for companies that often work in Pakistan.
Yeah, I think, look, for tobacco, for cigarettes, we're a lot self-sufficient, pretty much, and we've localized a lot of our production. And because of the duty structures in Pakistan, for example, our zin production, we've started the localization. So we make the pouches here by We have the manufacturing capability to make the pouches. However, the powder we're still importing, and that is something that that we're looking at.
And where is it imported from?
The powder is currently imported from Sweden, but we were looking at possibly how to make sure that over time we localize that as well. So the powder for the production is also going to be localized. The time frame I have to confirm, but most likely by the end of the year, we'll be even localizing the powder.
And what would you say is your typical sort of customer? Or give me a bunch of different typical customers as well.
Our main priority is to, the adult users of tobacco products, of cigarettes, we want to change them into the better alternatives like Zyn. Those are our customers. So our existing customers and the existing customers of our competitors, we want to turn them into customers of our smoke-free
But have
products.
you seen any changes in customer preferences? Any changes in sort of rural area preferences for certain products? Rural-urban divides or gender divides in certain products? Are you seeing an interesting trend, something that was unique to you?
Look, the interesting trends, I mean, there's a trend towards, the balanced taste in cigarettes, okay? However, again, as I said, I think the important aspect is the trend towards the better products. And I think we see that in many parts of the world. It's very big in Japan, in Europe, in Sweden, in the Nordics. I mean, smoking incidences have almost come down to below 5% in Sweden, right? That's what we are targeting to achieve here. It's not really interesting, to what people are smoking. The more interesting debate is, how do we get those smokers to leave smoking completely and either quit, or if they don't want to quit, move to the real better alternatives of smoke-free products like nicotine pouches or heated tobacco.
In previous segments, we had touched slightly upon underage smoking and what a massive issue it is. Could you tell us a little bit more about that in the context of Pakistan? Do you sort of have any data or research as a company focus a little bit on what does underage smoking even look like in Pakistan? What are the key entry points to why this happens?
Look, as a company, we are absolutely against youth taking up any tobacco products, right? Youth should not smoke. Youth should not use tobacco products. In Pakistan, as a company, we have very, very strict marketing restrictions that we put on ourselves, and that we do our utmost in terms of following that. Youth smoking is a problem that needs to be tackled from many different angles, including government, society, and obviously the manufacturers. Regulation and enforcement of that regulation play a critical part. Regulation at retail and enforcing regulation at retail to limit access is critical, and I think that those are the areas that need to be tackled. In Pakistan, enforcement of the regulation, not only for youth access, but most of the regulation that we've also touched upon, needs to be improved, and that's a critical aspect.
And how would you compare that regulation or that level of underage smoking with, let's say, other markets that you've worked in?
We don't have that research because there is no level of underage smoking that's acceptable.
Right.
It is not acceptable, and I think we need to do everything we possibly can, including work with the government to make sure that enforcement is there, work with society, get the awareness that it's unacceptable. All of that, it has to come together. There are multiple stakeholders in the problem of youth tobacco use, and that's how it can get tackled, is through the multiple
Are you optimistic about societal sort of changes in this space?
Absolutely. I mean, it has to happen. It has to happen, and we will do our utmost. The government has to play its part. Societies have to play their part, and we need to really work on enforcement, and the government has to take this seriously together with the other players.
Okay. Zooming out a little bit, when you look at Pakistan's market, Pakistan's attitude towards smoking tobacco products, how would you compare this to other South Asian markets? Is it very similar, would you say, or is it a little, in many other industries, we're often compared to sort of South Asian peers in terms of consumer preference, in terms of excise duties, in terms of import restrictions. So in this space, what would you say?
Look, I think while economic conditions there might be similarities, I really wouldn't want to compare the industries between the South Asian countries. Many emerging markets have similar dynamics and similar issues, as we discussed: profitability, lack of enforcement, and I think here in Pakistan, that's where we need to concentrate and make improvements in those areas.
Yeah, you had mentioned a framework that you were working on along with the government. Do you know what time frame we could expect to see that kind of framework?
Well, if it were up to us, as soon as possible, right? I hope that we can make inroads over the next year or so. We're going to push hard. We're going to try to build the awareness. We're going to present the case of science-based and risk-based regulation to the stakeholders, especially to those in the government. We believe that a framework that takes into account the less risk of smoke-free products is extremely logical, rational. It's backed by science, and I think that's where we need to take it once.
And is this just a company effort, or is it sort of like an industry-wide effort, or is it just you sort of alone?
I don't want to speak for anybody else, but for us in Philip Morris, this is extremely important.
Got it.
This is a big priority. The biggest priority that we have globally right now is to find the right framework in every market that we operate that will accelerate, cigarette smokers to be able to use better alternatives to continued smoking.
So let's look ahead at the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years. What are the 3 biggest opportunities you see in this space, in this market, for the next 5 to 10 years?
It doesn't have to be 3 opportunities. There's, for us, it's nicotine pouches. And possibly heated tobacco products, and that's real. But for now, our priority remains to try to get as many smokers, adult smokers, to change into nicotine pouches today.
And what are the flip side of that question, which is what are 3 big challenges that keep you up at night, that really stress you out?
The challenges we discussed, the biggest challenge today is illicit trade, right? Illicit trade, because while we need, illicit trade is substantially eating into our profits, which is not allowing us to invest in awareness of, or it's not allowing us to invest in the way we want in building awareness for our smoke-free products. That's a big challenge. Majorly, that's
and taxation.
Taxation is linked, right? I mean, the high levels of taxation allow and foster an environment where not paying the taxes again, it can make it a very profitable business.
Right.
So
is
those
your
are
issue
linked.
is your issue the high taxation itself, or the high taxation that other companies are not paying?
It's high taxation and enforcement of that high taxation, right? If it was enforced and all the companies would be paying the same amount of the taxes, and the borders would be controlled effectively, I think the issue is both. You cannot have high taxation without the enforcement.
Right. Do you think high taxation in of itself is effective in terms of controlling use for tobacco products?
Yes, taxation is effective in controlling tobacco products. Yes, and while we believe that taxation risk base is the right way to go. So taxation on cigarettes being higher makes sense versus taxation on nicotine pouches, for example. Since the nicotine pouches have less risks and are less harm, we believe that there should be a taxation differential, i.e. lower tax for those products. That allows better access for those products to consumers. And obviously the corollary to that is when you have a regulatory framework that also allows communication of those products, then everything comes together in a holistic 360 approach.
Do you have any final words to say to our audiences on the tobacco industry?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Business Matters के इस एपिसोड में शामिल होने के लिए शुक्रिया. A big thank you to our guests for joining us today. And join us next week as we continue to uncover Pakistan's business landscape. तब तक के लिए खुदा हाफिज़.